Well, g'day again. Okay, I'm in the process of putting my heads on the 308. The block's all been rebored, new pistons, crank grind, new bearings, the whole bit. And the heads had been done up about 2 years before I freighted it. So I just had them milled and pressure tested. But of course they've been sitting around for another year now, so I've only just dusted them off with the air. And because you always, whenever you get anything machined, there's like to be oil, like a lot of times they'll coat it with an oil to stop it rusting. But even if they don't, you got oil from machining, so you've got to clean it with a solvent that doesn't leave any residue. Carby clean, brake cleaner, great for that. They remove anything. The other thing I got to check. Should have tipped this over before I picked up the camera. Picked up my phone. Right. And the other thing you got to check is that none of these valves are stuck, because they haven't moved for 3 years. So give me a tick. And clean it all off first. You got to blow all your ports out with air before you do this, because if there's any shit in there, as soon as you do that little bit of shit will fall down between the valve and the seat. Right, see, they're all free. That's all I wanted to know. There's none of them are stuck. After I've got it on, all fully assembled and bolted down, I'm actually going to spray some WD up inside all of these, up into the springs, onto the actual valve stems, just as a safeguard. I won't do it now because I don't want anything leaking onto the gasket. And of course, after I've got the rockers in, I'll pour oil over the whole lot of it. And before any startup. So that's just one thing to check. The other thing, and I already had an issue with this at the first head, and I should have known better. I've been doing this for a long time, mucking around with engines and other things. But I got the heads on. I bought new head bolts, and I don't know if they're Commodore ones or whatever, but they're incomplete. I had to go and find these 4, 2 of them here, 2 on the other head of my old ones, and they also come with 2 Allen key head ones, which, so they're obviously they're the wrong model ones. So anyway, here's what it is. But the issue I had was possibly that the new bolts might be a bit longer. Of course, it's been milled, it's sitting down that little bit more, but they were free until when they actually got down to hitting and to touching the head, the actual threads were jamming up. And I should have known better. I should have done this before I even started. I just noticed something else. Bugger. The friggin' mud wasp built a bloody nest in the oil. That's where your oil drains back into your sump. I'm going to have to turn that upside down now, get that out, make sure none of that shit falls down into the engine. And but anyway, this is what I got. Normally, this is a thread tap. I've got 2 sets of thread taps, as you can see over here. It's an old Imperial one, the other one, which is underneath, is a metric. But just for speed, because you've got so many of them. This is also why it's turned downwards. But normally I would use a bit of cutting oil or WD or something on these, and don't do that. not going to do that now because I want it dry so I can blow it back out again. I don't want any of it staying in there. Fortunately, these top ones all go into the water jackets. Not sure about the bottom ones. These ones only go so far in, so they don't actually go into the engine at all. But yeah, this is a concern. Like, this is a thing that you get, especially in Tasmania. It's, you know, all these threads should have been cleaned before it was assembled. Yeah, when they bored the block, they should have cleaned all these threads. That's part of the job. You know, you shouldn't really be doing this after you got all this assembled, and you know, as you can see in there, you know, assembly grease and everything on it, where anything that falls in there is going to stick to it. So yeah, you're going to have to try and be really careful now. There's a little bit of shit just on there, and what that was. But yeah, it's another critical thing. You don't want anything going into where your lifters go. They got little holes in the lifters, and any little bit of shit will clog it up, and then you'll have a rattly lifter. So yeah, I'll be pre-soaking them. I'm going to put them all in the container and yeah, leave them for at least a day, soaking in oil, give them a few taps and whatever, and make sure they're completely full of oil before I put them in there. But anyway, getting back to what I'm doing. Got the thread tap, got it on the drill. It's just because there's a lot of them and I want to do them quickly. But yeah, I've got it on low speed, and you got to be careful of here is that you actually start it. Make sure it's actually starting properly. If you put it in crooked and just hit the trigger, you're going to chew the thread up straight off. So yeah, you can see how tight that is already. See? That already is not deep enough for the bolt. I measured how far the bolts come through the head. They come through at least an inch, and that hasn't gone an inch into the thread. So that's only gone half an inch. There's no way in the world that bolt would have tightened down further. See, any resistance you get on this bolt is going to take away from your head torque. Yeah, like you'd be, you know, like it's 100 Newton meters torque on this, but yeah, if you got 80 Newton meters of drag on it, you've only got 20 newtons of torque on your bolt on your head, so it's going to leak. Yeah, very important. As I said, this should have been done at the machine shop. I shouldn't be having to do this now. Some of this could be shit that got in there while I'm machining things. Be rust. Can be a whole number of things. And this is actually the worst one so far. Not going in very far at all. So actually, this is the outer one. That's what I haven't done. I checked the inner ones, and the bolts on the inner ones were coming through. There's about an inch protruding. That's the two. This is supposed to be the rolled head bolts, and we get two bloody Allen head ones. They belong to it, so they give me a little kit. It's another thing you get in Tasmania regularly. People don't do that. They just don't do anything properly. Yeah, we still got close to an inch, so yeah, the thread hasn't gone through anywhere near enough. So I'm going to persist with that. Anyway, I know I won't bore you with continuing with that. But I'll just persist with that until I get it. I may even take it off the drill, do it by hand on that one. But yeah, get all your threads clean. The other thing too, and I haven't found the two of these, when you come back from the machine shop, the dowels will be missing. So make sure you get your dowels. There's two of them on either end. One here, and they're majorly important. Because if you don't have your dowels in there, your head's going to be crooked, and your inlet manifold, or your valley cover as it's commonly known, is not going to fit into place properly, and it's going to leak. So yeah, your dowels are majorly important. I did ask them to mill this, and they didn't. They've sort of scuffed over it, but yeah, I can understand why they don't, because, well, not so much on this side, but what happens when you mill a block is, one is you up your compression ratio, but I mean, you're doing that anyway when you mill on the head, but on the block, you mill a block and you lose your numbers. It takes your numbers off, because that surface with your number is the same as a whole head surface. So if they mill heads, they take your numbers off, and then you got a big drama you got to go and get the police to come and acid test it, and give you new numbers, and you're up for a couple $100. So yeah, that's sort of probably the number one reason why they didn't actually mill the block. But in not doing that, we've got rust around here. It's pitting, it's enough to fill it. So I'm going to have to put some, I did this on the other one, run a bit of sealant around that, and I don't think silicon's adequate. This one, I ran some around it anyway, but see, that doesn't really, it hasn't eaten into the sealing surface. So that one probably doesn't need any, but I'll put some anyway. The only thing I've got, because it's once again down to what I've got. I got two types of sealant here. One's a regular sealant, not good enough for a head gasket. The other one I've got here is a Stag. This is what you normally use for, they split at the end. I've had this happen before. But this hardens, so you can't use Stag on anything that has any flex in it whatsoever. It'll just crack and just start leaking. But this is mainly for use on pressure pipes. That's what it was designed for. So yeah, like in steam pipes and things like that. So it's obviously, it'll cope with heat well enough, and it'll cope with pressure. So yeah, that's what I'm rubbing a tiny bit of that around where those rust spots are. Anyway, yeah, just something I wanted to mention, because I've watched in other videos of people assembling these, and it's probably because the threads have already been done at the machine shop, and which is what they should have been done. So in other countries and other, even in Australia and Sydney and Melbourne and stuff, it would have been done at the machine shop. But yeah, so they don't sort of mention it. They just clean the surface, stick the gasket on, and they emphasise the torque procedure and yada yada. But they don't mention this, and it's really is a very important thing, is that there's no drag on any of your threads, or you're going to get your torque settings wrong. Alright, leave it at that. As I said, I'm a qualified mechanic. I'm just self-taught. I have worked with qualified mechanics in engine shops, and my dad was pretty mechanical. He taught me a whole lot of things, and everything else I've taught myself. But So anyway, we'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Bye.